So when you look at global energy today, you're faced with this uh, massive contradiction right at the heart of the conversation.
It's a huge one. On one hand, the world is just starving for power.
Absolutely. You have AI, data centers, the big push to electrify transportation. I mean, everything. Demand is just exploding.
It is. But then on the other hand, there's this urgent, critical need to decarbonize.
Right. So the big question is, how do you do both? How do you grow and get cleaner at the same time?
And that's precisely why an old technology is having, well, a major comeback.
Nuclear energy, it feels like it's suddenly back in the spotlight as a potential solution to that exact problem.
It is. And to really get why, you have to go back to the basics. I mean, at its core, nuclear energy is all about fission.
Splitting atoms.
Exactly. You're splitting uranium atoms in a reactor. That creates a ton of heat.
And the heat makes steam, which drives the turbines.
And that's your electricity. The key thing, the absolute kicker, is that it produces massive amounts of power with zero carbon dioxide emissions during generation.
Massive power, no smoke.
Look,
So let's talk about that fuel for a second. Uranium. It's the backbone of this whole thing, right?
it is the backbone. And uranium is pretty abundant in the Earth's crust, but it's very unevenly spread out.
Right.
If you look at a map, you really have three heavyweights in three very different places: Kazakhstan, Canada, and Australia.
I saw a stat that just blew my mind on this. Australia alone holds something like 28% of all known reserves.
It's a huge chunk of the global fuel tank, absolutely.
Wow.
But you can't just dig it up and, throw it in a reactor. Natural uranium has to be enriched first to work properly.
Got it. And that potency is leading to new kinds of tech, which is where I keep hearing this acronym, SMRs.
Small modular reactors, yes. This is kind of the next big thing everyone is watching.
So we're not talking about those giant concrete domes we're all used to seeing.
Not necessarily. These are much smaller units, producing up to 300 megawatts compared to, say, 1,000 for a traditional plant.
And the modular part is key, I take it.
It's the whole idea. Think of them like the Lego version of a nuclear plant. The parts are built in a factory, shipped to a site, and then assembled.
Which has to solve one of the biggest headaches of old school nuclear the insane construction time.
Precisely. A traditional plant can take, 8 to 15 years to build? SMRs are aiming to cut that down to maybe 3 to 5.
That's a huge difference.
And because they're small, you can place them in remote areas or right next to a big industrial hub that needs constant power.
Okay, let's get into the data, because this is where nuclear really starts to stand out, especially on reliability.
Yeah, we call it the capacity factor. It's basically how often is the plant actually on and making power.
And for nuclear, that number is?
It's about 93%. It is just on. It's that round-the-clock stable power.
Compare that to renewables.
Well, wind is around 35%, solar is about 25%. They're amazing, but they depend on the weather. Nuclear doesn't.
And it's so much more dense. I saw a comparison. For 1 terawatt hour of electricity, solar needs over 16,000 tons of material.
And nuclear.
Just 900 tons. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it uses so much less land.
A tiny fraction of the land, yeah. And, contrary to what many people think, a modern plant produces very little high-level waste, about 3 cubic meters a year.
That's surprisingly small. Now, looking around the world, who's really betting big on this? India's name keeps coming up.
India is making a huge pivot. They're going from slow, incremental growth to a massive expansion. The target is 100 gigawatts of nuclear capacity by 2047.
And their strategy seems to be focused on self-reliance, that Atmanirbhar policy.
Exactly. They don't just want to import reactors. They want to design and build their own domestically. They're even aiming to develop their own SMRs by 2033.
It's a clear play for energy security. But we have to talk about the elephants in the room. Why isn't nuclear everywhere already?
The challenges are very real. First, it just takes too long and costs too much upfront. Even an SMR can run anywhere from $300 million to $2 billion.
And then there's the perception problem.
The vibe problem, yeah. People remember events like Fukushima. There's a powerful not-in-my-backyard sentiment that's hard to overcome.
Safety is a major hurdle.
It is. Plus, there's the supply chain risk. Relying on just a few countries for fuel and technology creates a lot of geopolitical vulnerability.
So at the end of the day, what's the verdict here?
The verdict is that nuclear is back. It's back because our digital economy, the AI, the data centers, it all needs stable 24/7 power that right now renewables alone can't quite provide.
It really boils down to a major trade-off, and I think that leaves us all with a final question to think about. Are the high costs and the long timelines simply the necessary price we have to pay for a reliable, carbon-free future?
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.